let's go right ahead and get into this MVP ladder. So I have a graphic right here showing not all the 10 players, but I do have the players who I think should be in the top 3 for the MVP and their, contention and whether or not I believe they should win. So let's start off with a huge bang. The number one, or at least the player that I feel like is in the number one position for winning the MVP right now is one and only Anthony Davis. Now, like I said, and like I've been saying several times, the NBA MVP, it's not necessarily who the best player is. It's the best player on the best team. And right now, Anthony Davis is the best player on the best team in the Western Conference, just based off of last week. So I understand this is rather early doing an MVP ladder, but this is only based off of the last week's games. And so far, the Lakers are 3-0, as I've mentioned before. Anthony Davis has been ridiculous in every single one of the games that he's played. He's had 3 30-point games to start this season. Last game, he ended the game with 31 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, going 10 for 15 from the field. He's also the first player in the NBA to reach 100 points in this season. Like, his performance has been incredibly dominant, and the team, as a result, has also been incredibly dominant. And JJ Redick, even before the season started, he said that the key to this offense and the key to this 5-out is to try and unlock Anthony Davis and try to bring him to his best and utmost potential. And here it is. This is exactly what we were expecting coming in from Anthony Davis. I've said numerous times that Anthony Davis is a rather maddeningly frustrating player, and there are times where he plays incredibly well, but then there are other times where he doesn't play well, and it almost seems like he needs to get forced into playing well. Like, it's almost as if he needs people to tell him to start trying hard instead of just trying hard. But here, this season has been completely different. He's been by far one of the most impressive players on the Lakers, aside from LeBron, but more on LeBron in the next segment. I'm sure you guys were expecting that. But his performance has been nothing short of amazing, and he's a big reason why the Lakers are 3-0, and a big reason why, and that's the reason why he's number one on this list, in my opinion. And you could make the argument that he should be a close second to the next guy on this list, Jason Tatum. Now, again, with Jason Tatum, what he's been doing with the Celtics, I will say, I understand that the Celtics, they just have a much better team that as opposed to the Lakers team, where it's essentially, well, more or less, it's LeBron, Anthony Davis, along with a couple of role players. But he is different. Jason Tatum in this season has been phenomenal so far, and he's also a big reason as to why the Celtics are in the position that they're in. He's had 37 points in 2 of the last 3 games that he's played, and he's just a completely different, it seems like he's a completely different player now. His averages for this season so far, 33 points, 54% from the field, 48% from 3, while averaging 6 rebounds and 6 assists as well. Like, this offseason has not been a joke to Jason Tatum. In fact, he's actually been the joke for a lot of people in the offseason. And this is sort of what happens when you make fun of an NBA player when you don't, like, it really depends on who you make fun of. But most of the time, players like Jason Tatum, they're going to take that criticism and they're going to use that criticism to motivate them into this next season, and that's exactly what he's been doing, and he's like to the T, he's been doing that. And he's been disrespected a lot in the offseason, mainly because like a lot of people just don't really think that a lot of people hone it against him that he wasn't the Eastern Conference Finals MVP or the Finals MVP. So he's really on a mission to try and prove that he is the star of this team and that he is the best player on this team. Like, that's really what it seems like. It's just, and not to mention the media adding fuel to the fire on, like, with Jason Tatum not playing in the Olympics also had something to do about it. So I blame all of the fans and all of the fanatics that made fun of Jason Tatum, because that criticism is enabling him to do things that we expect him to do, but he hasn't really been that consistent at doing. And it's as a player, as a person who would much rather see the Lakers end up winning it all, this is very, very maddening. Now, the next player on this MVP ladder is probably going to shock all of you at first, but it is Chet Holmgren. Now, I do know that the Thunder, they also have another MVP caliber player in SGA. He's going to be directly below Chet Holmgren in this ranking. But the reason why I have Chet Holmgren at number 1 is mainly because of his averages. I mean, he's averaging 23 points. Again, you might not think that's really impressive, but he's shooting 56% from the field, acquiring 13 rebounds along with that, 3 assists, a steal, and 4 blocks so far in this season. Last game, he ended the game with 6 blocks against the Hawks. And he's been incredibly efficient so far to start this season. It would be a crime to not put him in the top 3 based off of these performances. Not to mention, he's probably, if he's not going to win MVP, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins Most Improved Player, because he went from averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and almost a steal, to averaging 23 points, 13 rebounds, and a steal, along with 4 blocks. Like, that is a huge improvement from what he's done last season. And last season, being runner-up to Rookie of the Year is not that bad. It's really not that bad. Granted, he didn't receive a vote for winning Rookie of the Year, but that's also because Victor Wembanyama was just Victor Wembanyama. There was nobody that was going to win Rookie of the Year over Victor Wembanyama last season. Like, there was no way. But again, this season is young, so just keep in mind that these MVP rankings are most likely to change. Now, at number 4, we have SGA. Obviously, SGA, he has to be included on this list as well. He's on one of the very few teams that is undefeated so far in this season. They did beat the Denver Nuggets, and then towards the weekend, and on the weekend, they ended up beating the Chicago Bulls and the Hawks. Now, while the Bulls and the Hawks might not be contenders in the Eastern Conference, that still doesn't deny the fact that SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder are 3-0. So we'll have to wait towards later on in the season to see which of the 2 players between Chet and SGA remain the most consistent. Now, the next player that I have on my MVP ladder that is probably going to really shock a lot of you is Trae Young. Trae Young is going to be number 5 on this list. Now, a lot of people, Trae Young is one of the most disrespected athletes of this time, I will say that. There were a lot of people that were thinking that someone like Tyrese Halliburton is better than Trae Young. To that, I say, ha! And look at the performances that they've had recently, but more on that later. But in the last 2 games, over the span of the season so far, Trae Young has averaged 30 points, 46% from the field, 10 assists, 4 rebounds, and 1.7 steals. He also recorded 4 steals against the Charlotte Hornets. Now, the last game against the Thunder was a bit of a dud for him, and he also ended the game with 10 turnovers. The defense on OKC was just absolutely ridiculous against the Hawks. But still, this is just based off of the first few games, so I have to put him at number 5 just based off of the fact that they are 2-1, and Trae Young is a big reason why. Next player on this list is Stephen Curry. He's being 6 on the MVP voting, and I mean, Steph Curry is basically, as of right now, the only star left on the Golden State Warriors, and because of that, he's going to get a little bit of a boost into his MVP ladder and his MVP ranking. Now, his averages so far aren't really all that impressive. 18 points, 41% from the field, 40% from 3, 6 assists, 5 rebounds along with 2 steals. So again, not really that impressive, but I do expect the points production to increase a lot better and as the season progresses. And the rest of the players that are below on this list, again, this is just based off of pure stats and pure team position in the NBA right now. So it's very early, so don't get upset if there's somebody on this list that you expect to not be on this list later on in the future, because that's most likely going to happen. And the reason why I say that is because the next player on this list is Derek White. Now, I understand I recently put Jason Tatum on this list, and Jason Tatum is by far the best player on the Boston Celtics, just given his position and given how he's been playing. But Derek White, compared to every other star that's been playing right now, and again, team record is a very, very big part of these MVP rankings, he's been arguably, again, it's an argument, second or maybe even the third best player on the Boston Celtics, and a big reason why the Celtics have had this much success. He's averaging 20 points, 52% from the field, 43% from 3, along with 4 rebounds and 3 assists. It's a little bit more efficient than Jaylen Brown, despite the fact that Jaylen Brown has been having a little bit more production than Derek White in this past week in terms of games played and things like that. But still, not having a loss on your resume so far is a very key factor as to these MVP rankings, in my opinion. And also it goes down to personal individual performances, but still your team record is the most important thing. Next, we're going to speed run through this. Next is Ivica Zubac, and then under that is Jarrett Allen and Buddy Hield. Now, again, these are based off of team record and how they've been performing, which is why these these last 3 players actually, they aren't as high in the ranking. Mainly because, I don't really feel like their production is going to last throughout the rest of the season, but I cannot deny their team record and the impact that they've had on their team through these runs and through the games that they've ended up winning. And the Clippers actually started to shock me in some of these games that they ended up winning. In fact, I picked them to lose in a lot of these games, but that has not been the case. A big part of that is because of Zubac, and not to mention Buddy Hield also being a little bit in the lower half of the MVP of my MVP list. It's really he's been playing very, very well. And Jarrett Allen was basically someone I had to pick somebody, and so I just decided to pick Jarrett Allen. And I do think Donovan Mitchell is going to be better than him this season, but as of right now, that's where I'd put him. So those are my MVP rankings. Those are my MVP standings. Let me know what you guys think of them in the comments right now. And with that out of the way, we can go ahead and go into our break. And then I'm going to focus on talking about the Lakers win over the weekend. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown. Get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the